So I also wanted to talk briefly about the process of bioremediation because I used to work in bioremediation. So basically I was working out at a dairy farm and they made cheese. I wasn't making cheese, but they were making cheese. And in order to have cheese, you need a lot of milk. In order to have a lot of milk, you need to have a lot of cows. And if you have a lot of cows, well, you have a lot of cow manure. And the cow manure is filled with a lot of nasty chemicals that really aren't fantastic for the environment. Apart from just the methane, which they were actually out at that farm, they were taking the methane and turning it back into gas that they could use to power the dairy itself. But in addition to just the methane, there's a lot of nitrogen, and there's a lot of really nasty stuff that you don't want to have get into the water. For instance, you don't want to have it just be sitting on top of the land. And so if you own a dairy, typically if it's big enough, you will have to have a certain amount of acreage of crops so that you can put your manure back onto the crops and attempt to remediate it that way. You're not just allowed to dump it or just leave it on the ground or put it in the water. But what we were attempting to do, and this is a very small pilot pond that we were using here. This was maybe, 15 meters across, and the water was rotating like this. And what we had in here is we were trying to grow algae, and algae is a form of cyanobacteria. So the idea here is you take the manure from the cows, you put it in with the algae, and the algae, instead of having it be pollution, turns it into more algae because the algae is actually able to use it as nutrients and convert those nitrogens, convert those nitrates and those nasty chemicals into biomass rather than just pollution. Another really famous example of this is whenever there's an oil spill, this is referring to these are pictures of the Valdez oil spill specifically, but whenever there's an oil spill, they can use bacteria, and the bacteria either uses the hydrocarbons from the oil and makes them into things that are less nasty, or it just makes it so that it's much easier to clean that oil up and remove it from like the surface of the water or potentially from these animals. Because whenever this happens, there is a huge environmental impact. And so, whatever they can do to make things better. It says here, some species of bacteria are able to solubilize and degrade the oil. One of the most catastrophic consequences was change to fauna. So bioremediation. You're using natural organisms to make pollution less nasty or make it easier to clean up.